Well, that was a little too close for comfort. As usual, the Golden State Warriors exhibited their flair for dramatics in the fourth quarter. What should have been a blowout resulted in a 117-113 win for the Warriors. But look, a win's a win. Some great news in the playoff standings. A certain team's winning streak is over. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about the Steph and Dre show, which is what led the Warriors to victory today. 8 games remaining in this wild and wacky season before who knows what happens in the postseason. But for today, on this Sunday late afternoon, it's a celebration for Dub Nation as the Warriors come away victorious. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. In fact, that's where literally every live episode is available. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads at Dog Wild. That's also where the program is. You can follow the show on Threads at Locked On Warriors. Fairly simple to follow us. Yeah, so that's where we're at. And in a game that looked like, we'll start with the game itself. Talking about ebbs and flows, talking about a parabolic ride of what felt like a game they were going to lose, then what felt like a game they were going to win easily, and then the Spurs come back down the stretch. They make it a one-possession game, but the Warriors hang on. And the player that we got to start with in terms of giving acknowledgement, in terms of giving his due, because without him, they don't win this game. And that's Draymond Green. Draymond Green remembered how to play offense in this game. His impact was felt on both sides of the court for obvious reasons. But offensively, he was making some huge buckets on a night where Jonathan Kuminga missed his third straight game. His absence wasn't felt that much in the previous two. Charlotte, they took care of business without him. Orlando was a big one. I thought they would need his services there. But Andrew Wiggins had two huge games. It was the first time all season he had back-to-back 20-point outings, and his stellar play made up for the absence of Kuminga tremendously. His absence was felt, though, in this game, especially in the first half, where the Warriors went into the tunnel trailing in this game. If I have my stats here correct, at the end of the first half, and of course, no, my box score does not have quarter by quarter standings, at least not as of right now. Oh, here we go. Yes, we do. So the Spurs led the Warriors by 6 at the half. But then the Warriors came out in the third quarter like gangbusters, outscoring San Antonio by 16 points, 37-21. But that 6-point deficit at the half, I'm sorry, I believe it was an 8-point deficit. Yes, that I stand corrected. The Warriors were down by 8, and the entire difference at the half was free throws. Both teams had 22 made field goals, but the Warriors had 0 free throw attempts in the first half. The Spurs had 10. They made 8 of the 10, and that's where Kuminga's absence was really felt, because Kuminga's second on the team behind just Stephen Curry in free throw attempts. And again, the previous 2 games, Andrew Wiggins masked any sign of Kuminga not playing. But on this night, Wiggins struggled mightily. And this is just further evidence of his inability to be consistent this year, right? I mean, he's had some good games here and there. The last 2 before today was the first time he's strung it together in consecutive games, at least in terms of scoring. But Wiggins was just 2 of 12 in today's game. Steve Kerr held him out most of the fourth quarter because of his struggles. Finished the game with just 4 points. Did grab 5 rebounds at least, so he had some impact. But this was a night, afternoon, whatever you want to call it, where, again, not having Kuminga for a third straight game was significant for the reason I just mentioned. There was also size issues that the Warriors were contending with. There was a play, in my humble opinion, the most unforgivable mistake you can make in NBA basketball. the most inexcusable mistake is giving up an offensive rebound on a missed free throw attempt. And when that happened in this game, and the free throw was missed by Victor Wembanyama, who had a fantastic game today. We'll talk about him a little bit. But Wemby went to the free throw line, missed the second free throw, and the Spurs got an offensive rebound. Immediately following that offensive rebound, who I forgot who made the three-pointer. I thought I had it written down. I guess I don't. I think Osman made a three. Ended up being a 4-point play. So Draymond Green showing up was vitally important. And that third quarter was especially huge. And that's where I think Draymond Green stuck out the most in terms of his impact. Just reading his third quarter lines before I give you his stat line for the night. Again, this was one of his best games. Might have been his best game all season. Offensively, might have been his best game in years, plural. Not being hyperbolic saying that. But first of all, in the third quarter, again, the Warriors were trailing by 8. And they outscored the Spurs by 16 in that third, and they never looked back. They never trailed again. Draymond Green was a perfect 4 for 4 from the field. He even made a three-pointer. He's been struggling shooting from deep recently, but he made a corner three, his only three-point attempt of that quarter, went to the line, made both his free throws, had 3 assists in the third quarter, had 2 steals in the third quarter. His net rating in that quarter was a plus 17 for a quarter. That's a huge number. He had 11 points just in that third quarter. But again, that's when the game turned around. His final stat sheet for this game: Draymond Green played 32 minutes, scored 21 points. I honestly cannot remember the last time Dre has scored 20 or more points. I'm sure someone will find that stat, or I will dig it up and present it next episode. But 21 points on the night, 11 assists on the night, 6 steals on the night. That's incredible. He came 4 steals short of getting a triple-double without reaching that mark in rebounds. Did have 6 rebounds in this game. Finished with a team leading plus 13 in net rating. So kudos to Draymond Green for saving the day on a night when they desperately needed it. He was 8 of 9 from the field. It was huge. Ulysses Silverio, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, mentioned that last season in the playoffs, he dropped the 20 bomb. I feel like Draymond in the postseason is a whole different show. When the postseason starts, Draymond is a complete different beast. That doesn't surprise me, but it's been a while. I'm curious to know when he scored 20 or more in the regular season because I don't remember it. But regardless, and Alan, thank you so much for the kind words. Yes, please do subscribe if possible. But on a night where, Dr. E, is that true? He did it in February 25th. All right. Well, there you go. Well, now Dr. E is saying February 15th. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not a normal occurrence, but kudos to Draymond Green. 21 points in this game, 11 assists in this game, which was vitally important as well because the offense at times was struggling. It's a Spurs defense that is one of the worst in the NBA, but I believe since the All-Star break, if I heard that stat correctly, they're 11th. So they've shown improvement there. But the Warriors scored when they needed it most. And when it comes to the standings, it was particularly good news because other teams, not every team that the Warriors fans and the team wanted to lose lost, but one of the important ones did. And we'll talk about that in just a moment because there are only 8 games remaining in the season. 8. That's crazy. I even though the season has felt insanely long, even though it's been one of the most stressful, chaotic Warrior seasons, I'm going to say in franchise history, still went by kind of fast. I'm a little surprised that we only got 8 games to go, but nonetheless, the Road Warriors win again. The Golden State Warriors now improve on the road to an unbelievable, I believe, 22-15, if I have that number correctly. And that 22-15 mark is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 6th best in the Western Conference, which means I believe 7th best overall in the NBA. The only team in the Eastern Conference with a better road record are the Boston Celtics, who are 26-13 on the road. The Golden State Warriors improved to 22-15. That is a crowning achievement. That is wild. And it goes to show again that this team chemistry-wise has it. These guys like each other in terms of teammates. And now they got a huge home game. They're going to be playing Tuesday against the Mavericks, but we'll talk about the standings in just a minute to catch you up on where the Warriors are there. Good results today. especially when it comes to scores coming out of Texas. That the Texas results were exactly what the Warriors needed. I'll explain what I mean by that. Also, I'm going to give some love to Steph and Curry. This was a vintage Steph and Dre night. These two showed up, made huge buckets, and they're not winning this game without those two for obvious reasons. But the stat line for Steph and Curry is definitely worth highlighting. So a lot more to come on this program. Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy Easter, everybody, if you celebrate. And for the Warriors, it was a very happy Easter. Final score, once again, from San Antonio. I have watched the Warriors play the Spurs in that arena, and they don't win there that often. So when they do, I know this isn't the same Spurs team we're accustomed to from 5-6 years ago, 10 years ago, but nonetheless, they're still tough to beat at home. But the Warriors pull it off, 117, 113, nearly let it slip at the end there. That was a little too close for comfort, but nonetheless, they come away with a win. And again, when we come back, we'll talk about Steph. We'll talk about the standings, which was sort of favorable, but the Warriors are also chasing the Lakers. And unfortunately for the Warriors, the Lakers played one of the worst teams in the NBA, maybe the worst. The Nets and the Hornets, to me, those two are the absolute. I know they might not represent the worst teams in the NBA in terms of standings, but those two, along with the Wizards, maybe the Pistons, that's the bottom of the heap. So the Lakers, unfortunately, had the luxury of playing one of those teams. So the Warriors could not catch up to the Lakers, but there was good news on other fronts. We'll talk about that and so much more after we give some love to our sponsors for the evening. And first up is an insanely fun game. I can't endorse this product enough, and it's not just because they thankfully sponsor our show. I'm trying to find the overlay for it right now. There we go. And that sponsor is Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. It's all about individuals and whether or not they're scoring more or less than certain amounts, whether or not they're grabbing more or less than certain rebounds. Baseball's back. You could also bet on different athletes crossing different sports. You can bet literally on Stephen Curry to score more or less than, say, 29.5 points. And then you could cross over and bet on a Giants player, an A's player. Minimum 2 players, maximum 6 players. And if you nail a 6-player bet, you can win up to 25 times the amount you put in. And that doesn't include all the incredible promos. Even though March is over, the biggest moments in college basketball tip off in the month of April. Be a part of that action on Prize Picks for both men's and women's college basketball. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason, college basketball's postseason. The NBA playoffs begin April 16th. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy application. So go check them out. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. One more time, download the app and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You know, the Warriors, I mentioned their road record a moment ago, and I'll say that one more time just because it is damn impressive. The Golden State Warriors won 11 total road games a year ago. It stuck out how abysmal they were on the road. This year, complete opposite. They flipped the script. They've won double the amount of games. Today marked the 22nd road victory of the year. They're now 22-15. The only teams with a better road record than them this season, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks, the LA Clippers, the Timberwolves, the OKC Thunder. These are all the top-notch Western Conference teams. The Nuggets have a half-game lead on the Warriors in terms of road record. And then the East, the only team with a better road record than the Warriors is the Boston Celtics. And last game, I got to play the soundbite real fast because Stephen Curry brought up the idea of the Warriors staying at a hotel when they come back to San Francisco. I don't think I know he was saying this in jest. He's being frivolous, but I actually think this would not be the worst idea. I mean, first of all, you're a pro athlete and you're a pro athlete playing in the NBA. So wherever you stay in the city or near San Francisco, it's going to be a 5-star hotel. Sometimes there are distractions at home that don't necessarily make home feel comfortable, feel relaxing. There could be drama. There could also be complacency. And Stephen Curry, again, said it jokingly, but I don't think it's the worst idea considering the Warriors are 7 games above 500 on the road, but they're 1 game below 500 at home. They're 18-19 as they set to go back home for 1 game before hitting the road again. So here is Stephen Curry. This was the last game in Charlotte, talking about the idea of staying at a hotel in San Francisco.
What do you think about being 13-3 in your last 16 road games? After last year with the weird 11 road wins, 13-3 on the road? What a stretch.
We might need to stay in a hotel in San Francisco and act like it's a road game like they do in football. Stay in the hotel the night before. I don't know what it is about, the road Warriors. We've kept our season alive, with our road performance. So it means a lot. And we're going to have what it's looking like. We're going to have to do that to get into the playoffs. So something to rely on.
And again, I know he's kidding, but I really do think they should take some serious consideration into that. I mean, clearly something is working when this team is on the road that is not translating to how they play at home. And who knows what the reasoning is for that. It's one of many things that has stumped analysts, that has stumped former players who cover the team and who cover the NBA. Stay at a hotel. I mean, look, why not? Tell your families, I'm on vacation, all right? And it's not a vacation. It's a business trip. Tell your families, to the 14 players, if you have families that you normally come home to, hey, I'm taking a little break. I'm putting business first here. Who knows what this team could do in the postseason? And if they play like this on the road, at home, anything could happen in the postseason. So I do really understand that. And Stephen Curry on the night, what a fantastic game for him. There was one particular shot that he made. I believe he was in the third quarter. No, it was the fourth quarter. There was 7:27 remaining, where Mamu Kelashvili, I think that's how you pronounce it, was guarding Steph, and Mamu Kelashvili is considerably bigger than Stephen Curry, and he was right in his face. And Steph, instead of doing like trying to do a pump fake, trying to do some dribbling to create some space, he just decided to rainbow this thing, to just lob it over Mamu Kelashvili's long hands. And he sunk it. And his three-point shooting, and it was just an awesome shot. It was such a high-arcing rainbow shot that went in. But that was the kind of day Steph was having. He shot nearly 50% from 3. He was 7 of 15 from beyond the arc. Did shoot just above 50% overall from the field, 12 of 23 on the night. The team was not getting a lot of trips to the free throw line. They had 13 free throw attempts total. While the Spurs had 18 in this game, but Steph made both of his free throws, and he went on and scored 33 points in this game. He also added 8 assists in this game. The Warriors as a team had 34 assists in this game, a lot of ball movement, which helped keep the offense going. And Steph, Maron, bravo, another MVP-like performance, 33 points again. At least I'm accustomed to Steph grabbing a lot of boards, which is not something the team should ever rely on him for, but he still does it. But he just had 1 board today, which is fine. It's all good. Was tied for second on the team with Moses Moody in net rating. Both players had a plus 12. And I want to talk about Moody when we come back in just a moment, because I thought he had a huge game tonight. A part of me wishes he was playing in the fourth quarter. I do believe that if he was in there late, I don't think the Warriors are giving up that lead like they did. But nonetheless, Stephen Curry, MVP caliber performance at 36 years of age. Kudos. And I do love his idea of the team staying in a hotel. I'm dead serious with that. I really do think it can make a difference. This is a team that enjoys to hang out together. They clearly have a fraternal bond, and that bond just strengthens when they're traveling. So stay at a hotel. Do what you got to do. Keep this thing going when they're at home, because the Warriors are right back at it on Tuesday when they play a red-hot Mavericks team. And I know I teased the standings a moment ago. We'll talk about that when we come back. Another win for the Warriors, 4-5 on the road swing. Bravo, gentlemen. 4-1 on this road trip, right? 4-1, or was it, they lost one game, didn't they? I thought they did. Anyways, so we'll come back and talk about the standings because the Rockets played and their winning streak, thankfully, is over. We'll talk about that and so much more after I give some love to our other sponsor for the afternoon. Still daylight. It's always a little weird to me when it's still daylight when we record. And our second sponsor for the evening today is Fire TV. I own one of those things. I love it. It's a modern era of TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug right into your existing TV. It provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive in to all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports. We're talking March Madness, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and so much more, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos, and so much more. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. Literally, I own a Fire TV. I love it. I don't know what I do without it. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers at the absolute latest, back at this on Tuesday. They're at home for a brief moment. It's Warriors and Mavericks. This is the makeup for the game that was postponed because of Dejan Milojevic's untimely passing earlier this season. Tip-off is at 7 at Chase Center. So the absolute latest. We're going to be having a show immediately following that, like we've been doing all season long with post-game coverage. And then 2 days after that, the Warriors are back on the road again for 2 road games back in Texas. The way the schedule was originally planned, the team was going to have 3 days off between this game and then their Thursday Rockets game as part of a long road swing, including a Texas 3-step. But the makeup game for the Mavericks will be this Tuesday, so the team will travel back to Chase Center, hopefully stay at a hotel, and then they're on the road Thursday for a huge game against the Houston Rockets. And the Rockets, they had, I believe, it was an 11-game winning streak going into today's game against the Dallas Mavericks, and that winning streak is over. The Mavericks took control right from the beginning. I didn't watch the game, but I was monitoring the score, and it literally from tip, the Mavericks had control of this game, and looks like they won comfortably. Luka Doncic scored 47 points in this game, adding 12 rebounds, 7 assists. The Mavericks improved to 45-29 on the year. They're now well out of reach of the Warriors. But the Houston Rockets, by losing, they dropped to 38-36. And in terms of the standings, this adds a lot of comfort and a lot of breathing room because the Rockets were really just sniffing and crawling right behind the Warriors, sniffing at their necks. But with the loss today, the Rockets now trail the Warriors by 2 in the loss column and 2 overall, but it's really 3 because of the tiebreaker. No matter what happens, regardless of the outcome for Thursday's Warriors-Rockets game, the Warriors won their first 2 meetings this season. And that Thursday game is the last one, so there's going to be 3 total. The Warriors will win the season series regardless of what happens Thursday, and that means they win the tiebreaker So even though it's a 2-game lead for the Warriors, we can safely say it's a 3-game lead with 8 to play. This makes things a hell of a lot better and a lot more relaxed and comforting for the Warriors in terms of worrying about being eliminated from just playoff contention. I mean, because again, we're talking existential crisis if the Warriors don't make the playoffs. I know, and I've heard some people say, well, what's the difference between the Warriors finishing 11th and the Warriors finishing 10th? Look, I mean, making the postseason is incredibly symbolic. Now, look, if the Warriors finish as the 10 seed and they end up playing the Lakers and lose that play-in game, yeah, you might still have a complete crisis and meltdown in terms of this roster and future plans, because for those saying it's not that different, you're right. It's really not that different. But if they get in, anything could happen. If you're following the rhetoric of Steve Kerr, I mean, he keeps counting on this postseason where he keeps saying anything could happen, and it could in theory. But if they go into the postseason and lose that first game, that's just not a good look. I mean, I don't know how you could run it back with a similar team next year when you're a one and done in the play-in, barely getting in the first place, considering teams like the Spurs, like the Rockets, they're young and they're just going to be getting better. I don't know who in the Western Conference will regress next year outside of maybe the Lakers, maybe the Clippers, maybe, but you have teams on the rise. The Grizzlies are going to be good next year. So unless the Warriors go deep in the postseason this season, there's going to be some big conversations had this offseason. There's no doubt about that. But at least for now, the Warriors can still make the postseason if they stay ahead of the Rockets. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So a few other stats are, I'm just looking at the chat, seeing if anything is going on. Romar Hernandez mentions Cooper Flagg. He's not going to be available until the following year's draft. And you're going to have the number 1 pick to get him. So yeah, the Cooper Flagg. I mean, look, Cooper Flagg is, I've been following him a little bit more as he's getting older, but he's got a year to go before he comes into the NBA. Want to mention as well from this game, a couple other players that stuck out. Moses Moody, his shooting slump is over. Thank the gods, whatever you believe in. 3 of 6 from the field, but from beyond the arc, he was 2 of 3, 66.7% shooting from deep. Added 4 rebounds in this game. Some of those boards were huge, and like he's been doing all season, when he plays, the team is exhibiting winning basketball. His net rating in this game was a +12. Him and Steph were tied for second in that category behind Draymond Green's +13. They were playing some winning ball. So kudos to Moses Moody. Finished the game again with 10 points, 4 rebounds. It played great defense. And those rebounds, some of those were clutch. Just all around fantastic basketball for Moody. So it was great to see him get a run. And regardless of when Kuminga comes back or what the future holds, you've been hearing me all season, going back to last year, talking about Moody, saying kid needs to play. He belongs out there. He's got talent. That wingspan causes chaos defensively. His wingspan's over 7 feet in length. So I hope Moody gets more of a run and we see him get some time in the playoffs as well. The Lakers, unfortunately, did win today. They were playing a Brooklyn Nets team that is just awful. They're just pure garbage. I constantly wonder how Sean Marks has stayed in that position as long as he had. There are some GMs in this game that are grossly overrated. He is certainly one of them. And this Nets team that is directionless. I was watching early on some alerts because they had such an anemic scoring output early in the game. They were in the single digits for most of the first quarter, finished scoring just 11 first quarter points. So this was just a gimme to the Lakers, 116-104 for them. And the Lakers are still significant when it comes to the Warriors because the Warriors could catch them. Is it likely? No, but is it possible? Yes. And and here's the reason why. Even with the Lakers winning today, the Warriors only trail them by 1 in the loss column. And when you're talking about upcoming games that are vitally important, I mean, that Rockets game Thursday, April 4th is huge, but maybe even bigger than that is a week from Tuesday. This is April 9th. The Warriors and Lakers play in LA. The Warriors lead that season series 2-1, which is fairly irrelevant for this game because the Warriors still have to win it. If they lose this game and the season series is tied 2-2, the next tiebreaker is division record. And unfortunately for the Warriors, they have no chance of overtaking the Lakers in terms of division record, meaning whoever wins that game will own the tiebreaker if the two teams finish with the same record. So it is a must win. The 2-1 series lead, again, bears little relevance for the simple reason that division, in terms of division record, the Lakers will win that no matter what if they win that game a week from Tuesday. So the Warriors have to win that. But regardless of how much they've struggled on the road this season, people have been jokingly talking about whether or not it's actually better for the Warriors to play that game on the road. That is crazy talk. If you subscribe to that, for the simple reason of Steph historically struggling at crypto, Clay is not much better as a shooter there. Way too many negative memories. And again, throw away all the regular season records. When it comes time to the postseason, you want to be in the comfy confines of Chase Center. I personally think so. I really hope it doesn't come down to a game in LA for the entire season. And the Warriors are still contending there. So they have that's a big game is what I'm trying to say. Tuesday, April 9th is a huge one. Ken Mamba asked if there's any news on Jonathan Kuminga's injury, and Dr. J30 in the chat replying with tendonitis in both knees. That is correct. Jonathan Kuminga on the injury report was listed with having bilateral tendonitis in his knees, meaning both of them are affecting him. And the Charlotte game, the Orlando game, Wiggins was on fire. So he masked, Kuminga's absence. But in this game, when Wiggins struggled mightily, his absence was felt again, particularly in the first half when the team had 0 free throw attempts. They trailed by 8. There were some rebounds that they got beat on that would not happen if Kuminga was out there. So I do not know. I do not know what's going on in terms of his knees. I do hope he's coming back and they're just playing this cautiously. But that's what's going on. Richard Marquez asks, I still don't understand signing Lester Quinones. At this stage, it makes no sense. That was more of a long-term move. That was more a decision to fill the 14th roster spot. Notice they still have an open roster position. So that's what the decision to sign Lester Quinones was. And you also have to understand, Richard, that Steve Kerr, I call him Picky Steve for a lot of reasons. Chief among them is he doesn't just bring in random people off the street. He possibly overvalues the chemistry angle, meaning like he's really picky when it comes to who is on this roster. I haven't seen him take a risk, honestly, when it comes to a free agent signing or, in terms of a player that has no history with the rest of the roster. I haven't seen a move like that since Boogie Cousins. That was the last time that I felt like the team kind of took a swing at a potential wild card type player. And, Boogie and Kerr borderline hate each other now. So yeah, because of Picky Steve, that's why you have Lester Quinones. But Quinones is also going to be a stud on this team and in the game in the near future. So they had to sign the 14th. They had to sign someone to that 14th spot. And it ended up being Quinones. Now, are you asking why they didn't add more size? I've been asking the same question. And it goes back to Picky Steve and his love for geriatric hobbits, which we saw today. And as Joe writes, if you play no defense, right here. If you play no defense, I don't know what Ken 0.5 or great hair means, but you're number one in Kerr's system. Regardless, I think I get the gist of what you're saying. But anyways, the Warriors won. It was huge. It was important. Stephen Bubbs knows how important that was. My dog, Bubba, he's barking. And the Warriors now have a comfortable 2-game lead over the Houston Rockets, really 3 when you consider the tiebreaker, since the Warriors own that. So they're sitting well in terms of making the postseason, but who knows what happens. And I do think there's a lot of importance in terms of catching and surpassing the Lakers. The good news for the 9 seed is, technically speaking, the Warriors control their destiny. If they win out, they're going to get that 9 seed. They're going to play that first game at home, and then who knows from there. So, yeah, I think that's it. Anything else remaining? I think we covered all the bases. Want to give some love to Trace Jackson Davis. I thought he played superb basketball. Played 28 minutes, 7.7 boards. Klay Thompson was okay, just shot 25% from beyond the arc, 2 of 8 from deep, had 13 points in this game in 29 minutes. But look, a win. Oh, I see, Joe. Yeah, the 0.5 seconds refers to Steve Kerr's read and react system. Yes, Piggy Steve. So anyway, so here we are. Happy Easter. Happy Sunday. Hope you all have a great rest of the day. At the latest, we'll be back at this Tuesday a win's a win, folks. And the Warriors at least appear comfortable in terms of going into the postseason. So that's a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. Today was definitely a good thing. All right, everyone, have a great rest of the day. We'll be back at this soon. Thank you as always for joining me. And till then, bye-bye.